Hey everybody, it's Chamber Matt, and this morning I am with Jeff Wilson, who is a candidate, one of the guys that stepped up to serve the community in South Kitsap School District, and he is in District 4. So, I found, Jeff, that the school district districts are kind of crazy. So can you tell us what makes up District 4?
Sure. Well, first of all, just real quick, the South Kitsap School District as a whole, the representatives that are on the board represent everybody. But in order to run, you have to live in one of these little 5 sub-districts. And so I'm in sub-district number 4. And I was thinking about it actually from my house. So I live down on Beach Drive near Waterman. And then, so it runs along that point there all the way down into downtown by the sewage treatment plant. It goes up the hill, Olney, by Albertsons, hacks a right on Mile Drive, goes down by the bowling alley, and then it starts to head up Bethel. District 4 is everything on the left-hand side of the street, and District 1 is on the right-hand side. You drive all the way up Bethel till you get to Fred Meyer, and you turn left. I have in District 4, I have Les Schwab and so forth, and then the district, another district number 5 is over on the Fred Meyer side of things. Then that runs down, Sedgwick, down all the way down to Woods, and then out almost into Manchester. Then it cuts back down the hill back down to me on Beach Drive. So it's that little chunk. It's a really weird chunk boundaries that runs down. Some of it are down streets, but some of it are through the woods and through creek beds. So I haven't been to every tree and every stump in the district, but anyway, appreciate the chance to run. Kind of a fun fact, I thought I was going to run a couple of years ago. My house is actually only 3 houses from the cutoff line. So I thought it was in another district, but when you zoom down, it takes a little kitty corner and a kink right by Hillcrest, which is where I live, and I'm actually 3 houses over into District 4. So anyway, if you're ever bored, go to the school district site, click on the boundaries, and then zoom in. It's a little bit confusing because my color green is light green, which is 4, and then district number 1 is dark green. But until you zoomed all the way in, you can't really see the difference in those colors. So anyway, it's cool. Definitely happened through some crazy political process where other districts are divided as well. So
right,
it's kind of a fun thing back there.
And the crazy thing is that we went through this whole process of you meticulously describing District 4, but the bottom line is that you don't have to live in District 4 in order to vote for the school board member in District 4.
That's right. Yeah. So it's confusing. So yeah, every other year, half the slots come up. So here in odd years, so 21, there's 2 slots, and then in 23, there'll be 3 slots for a total of 5. So once we're on the board, then we represent everybody. The idea, I guess, is that they want somebody from each part of the district to be on the board. But then once we're on, the only way we make decisions is as a group, and we really have to think about the concerns of everybody. So, keep your cards and letters coming, as they say. Want to hear from everybody in the district about what your thoughts, concerns are, because we do represent you. And of course, please get your vote in. I know my ballot came last night in the mail, so hopefully everyone's got theirs by the end of the day today. Get those suckers in and make sure you vote, because that's the biggest hurdle we're trying to get over here with this election, is just participation. So
absolutely. Okay, so we're just going to go ahead and jump on into the questions then. So you can put your thinking cap on, and you can tell us the first question is probably the toughest, is that you get to tell us about yourself and why do you think you're qualified to be a South Kitsap School District board member.
All right. Well, first is sort of raised in South Kitsap. So I was a product of South Kitsap schools from 3rd grade through high school. I graduated in '86, so been there on the inside. I'm an organizational psychologist by training, so I went to school in Bellingham, Western for undergrad, and then I went to grad school down in Los Angeles. And I have 25 years of experience in business, working with different organizations, groups, different kinds of people. And so while I haven't taught in the public schools, I have taught at the graduate school level. the Graduate Deal School of Business at Pepperdine University. And then as part of my job, I'm a management consultant, and I've been with Boeing for 15 years, teach at the Boeing Leadership Center and so forth. So I'm familiar with instructional design and teaching. Most of my focus, granted, is on adults, but I understand what it takes to teach children as well. My wife is an elementary school teacher at Olala, so I sort of hear firsthand what the experience is, and the inside as a teacher. And then I have other folks that are good friends of mine that are teachers in Peninsula and in Bremerton. As far as my kids, I've got two that have graduated from college. So I have a Husky and a Coug. So you can't make any decision there. I'm bipartisan or nonpartisan, let's say, in that. So that's great. And then I have two younger kids, one at Sedgwick and one at the high school right now. So I have some active participants. So all around, I think I have a lot of experience that will be useful and helpful to bring sort of a more rational approach to the policy making that we do on the board. And I think the big one and what's really needed now is my experience in and working, in sort of hostile environments or difficult situations. I think I can bring a rationality and hopefully a civility. And I really want to move the board forward. I think we really need to focus on things like our facilities that need updating. And I think we've been sort of stuck in neutral for a long time, and there's a lot of squabbling and not a lot of focus on things like student achievement. So I want to continue to invest in students and a curriculum, and then make sure that we have a great learning environment. And that means remodel or replace schools. I think it's time that we invest in our community and move forward with some great schools here for SK.
All right. Well, the first one's going to be the tough one, and that's just basically, can you tell us about yourself and why do you think that you're qualified to be a South Kitsap School District board member?
So about myself, I've lived in Port Orchard 15-ish years. My two oldest girls graduated from South. My two youngest girls are both at Marcus right now. I work for a contractor in the shipyard, and I've been doing that for years. Why I think it makes me qualified? Maybe because I have kids and want to be part of their educational process as much as I can. And I figured this was one way that I could do it. And here we are.
Absolutely. All right. Sounds great. Thank you. So this next question, you kind of hit on it a little bit already. I want to talk about infrastructure.
Yes.
And, infrastructure is critical to the growth and development of a community.
Yes.
How do you best handle the growing infrastructure needs of South Kitsap School District to handle the increased population and the growth that we're actually experiencing here?
Yeah, so right now there's a subcommittee that's working very hard, facilities committee for the board, and they've been studying for the last, I think it's almost a year, maybe a little bit more, all of the current schools. So they have a list of, what we have, what the current condition of it is, if it needs to be replaced or remodeled or whatnot, where it's doing well and where it lacks. And also as part of that, there's a report on what the current building forecast is. And frankly, if you just get in your car and drive around South Kitsap, there's apartment complexes, housing developments, everything going up. There's digging dirt everywhere, putting up walls, and those folks are going to need schools to go in and good schools. So I think we'll have that report. And I think in another month or two, they're going to make a final set of recommendations. But then I think the critical part will be to educate the public on what it means to build a school, why things look and seem so expensive. And then I think we need to put together a package or a series of packages that the community can get behind. I know that we ran a couple of times on, building a second high school, which failed. I think the first one came the closest, and then it failed by increasingly larger margins. So I think I know that we need to do more than that, but maybe it needs to be broken up into smaller pieces, or maybe we need to look at remodeling the high school rather than replacing it, since having two schools is a little bit hard. Regardless of what it is, the big hurdle there is that we have to have 60% vote to get anything done. So it's not just a 50% plus one, it's a 60%. And that's a huge hurdle. So I think we need to make sure that we're engaging the community, that they really understand what's happening, and then get them excited about investing in our schools, and put together some packages, or maybe a series of packages that people can support. I think in the past they've tried to maybe underplay or under educate folks and then sort of slip stuff in quickly. And I just don't know that that's not going to work. And I think we need to convince people that our schools are worth investing in, and understanding why, just paying to maintain them with a levy, which is great that people do that, isn't enough. You can if you have a 30-year roof on your house, you can complain all you want about how you don't want to do it. Now is not a good time. I don't have the money. But when the water is pouring through your roof, you're going to have to invest in it. And that's really the point at where we're at with many of our schools. So I know, just preliminarily talking to that committee, probably need to replace 2 of the elementary schools, 1 middle school, probably remodel the high school and a lot of the other buildings, and bring them up to date, and then probably add an elementary school or 2 to handle that growth that we're seeing out there everywhere around the county, and especially here in SK.
Sounds great. So then the first real question then I'll say is, so infrastructure is critical to the growth and development of a community. How would you best handle the growing infrastructure needs of the South Kitsap School District, given the increased population that we're all expected to have here?
I've been told by other people that there's a particular junior high that is in great disrepair that would need to be updated at the very least. I mean, add on is one thing, but it needs to be updated. I do think there needs to be a second high school with all the new housing that's going up around. They're going to probably have kids, which will probably go to the high school. Both of my 2 older children complained about it, but that may have just been them being cranky teenagers. I'm not sure. And then my understanding is there are 3 of the older elementary schools that have fallen behind in relation to the newer ones. And, that shouldn't be looked at any less, more importantly, than the junior high or anything of that sort.
Okay. All right. So I'm bouncing between screens here, so
That's fine.
So Jeff, what do you think? This is kind of a 2-part question, but what do you think are some of the biggest opportunities the South Kitsap School District has, and why?
So I think opportunity, kind of one is near term, and that is to continue to create an open, and safe environment where we can keep our kids in school and keep them educating. I think keep people engaged. I think we did a really good job of, considering the circumstances of sort of bobbing and weaving and coming together with, virtual solutions and so forth. Now that we're back in school, it's not perfect, but it is, I think, a better environment for a lot of folks. There's still offline things that we have. So we need to continue to be able to keep things safe and operate. And that means following the science, following the mandates for masks, and if vaccines, come through. If that comes through, then we need to follow that. But we need to continue to keep things safe and productive, and help kids to kind of make up for lost ground over the last year and get caught up. That's one. I think the second piece, opportunity, is really to get more a longer term focus on really that student achievement. How do we bring up not only our graduation rates, but our achievement rates? Look at how well students are prepared to get into the workforce, to go into the military, or to continue on into college, and really press that button. I know in the last couple of years, it's just been, let's just keep them in school.
Great.
But I think really
thank you, Greg. So this is next question is kind of a 2-parter, and I'm going to ask you the first part, and I bet you'll eventually be able to guess the second part. But the first part is, What do you think are the biggest opportunities for South Kitsap School District and why?
Something I really like about the way the schools are, and this is mostly based off my younger ones. When they were when they were in elementary school, they would have a legitimate Spanish teacher come in. And when I was going to school, that didn't happen until high school at the earliest. Those kind of things where you're putting your child in a place to learn something that maybe you can't get at home, you can't get on the playground, can't get at your friend's house. I think there's an opportunity for that sort of thing. And I don't have any specific examples, but those sort of things help with the kids' overall roundness of learning, I guess, for lack of a better word. There's another one in my head right now, but I can't think of it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. The future. So then second part of that question though, really, Jeff, is, what do you believe some of the biggest challenges facing the school district are? And, how can you help us, face those challenges?
So when I was talking about the opportunities, the big one I was talking about was the infrastructure piece. And I think the challenge there again is kind of threefold. The first one is we need that 60% hurdle, right? 60% of the voters to vote that. So it's not a simple majority. And lots of our things here in the community and with the levies and things, we've been barely over 50%. So we're going to need to convince people that that the money is needed. One, two, it'll be well spent, and three, they're going to need to know, what all goes into it. And so I think we need to do some education. I know it's a little bit tricky because the school district can't. They're not supposed to take a position, they're just supposed to present only facts. But I think we can do a lot better job at explaining, why things are so expensive looking. And that's because you're paying, for example, people say, well, if my house is only, if it's $250,000, let's say, why does the school cost 400? Why is it $400,000 for the equivalent school? And you got to realize you're not just paying for the house, you're paying for the design, you're paying for the building of it, and you're paying for well, in this case with a bond, 20-year mortgage, right? So you're all those mortgage costs. When people say, well, my house only costs $250,000, they forget about all of the money that they pay in and interest and all that stuff. So after 30 years, it ends up being $400,000. And the problem is, we're asking for all that up front. So it doesn't, you don't pay it all up front, but that huge price tag is on there. So we need to educate people for what goes into it. And then I think we need to do a little bit better envisioning and getting this sort of a school spirit and people rallying behind and know why it's a good thing. I live down here on Beach Drive, I said, and why it's a good idea to build a new school, out in Olalla, right? My kids don't go there. They won't go there, and it's because, that current building doesn't have any ventilation. The heat doesn't work. I think the half the boiler went out last week. It was built many years ago. It's not up to code and it's not easily, sort of retrofitted to do that. So it needs to be replaced. And with that great experience for those kids out there and other events that can happen in the community as they flow through the system, that'll help to produce, stronger kids. So I think it's really building back some of that spirit. And then I think a big step of that is rebuilding the trust with the school board. So we have to be more open and more transparent, but we also have to not just give facts, we have to connect the dots and I think create a vision, a positive vision that people can rally behind. They don't want to just write, blank checks for vague outputs or vague outcomes. They want to know more. And I think we as a board and can do a lot to help make sure that we're creating that vision and creating that excitement. But it's going to be darn hard because nobody wants to pay more taxes, and hopefully we can work out plans where it's maybe we're trading one tax for another, or that it's it's compelling enough that that we can get people to move in that direction. But it'll be really hard to do. But I think it's it's even more important than it was, when I moved back here in 2005. So it needs to happen, and that's one of the reasons I'm here, running for the board. So people oftentimes talk about, I can't afford any of these taxes, and for the vast majority of them, it really is, I don't want to pay any more taxes. But if you don't have the money to pay, if you actually, when you get your tax bill, you open up, I happen to have mine here, sitting here, property tax. If you turn over to the back of the property tax here, you'll see that there's different programs. And so I'll just round it off there. If you make less than $50,000 a year, so if you're a senior and you make less or than that, there are a series of programs of tax deferral or tax relief that you can apply for and be granted. And so you can be opted out for those things. So if you're a pensioner and you have a lot of house, and you're late in life, you can actually be let out of those, and those things can be deferred for your property. So there are programs available for people who truly can't afford it. For the rest of us, I think we will have to sort of buckle up and probably pay a little bit more. But it's an investment. It's not something that you're not going to see. You're going to see the buildings. You're going to see the students that come out. It's not that the money is going away and going somewhere else. It's going right into our community. It's an investment here locally for us, and we'll need to do that. And it will cost us a little bit more, but it's going to be worth it, and it will pay off in the long run.
So Greg, I guess the second part of that question, you handle the opportunities. What do you think are the biggest challenges facing South Kitsap School District, and how do you think you can help face those challenges in the future?
So I think the first thing is facilities. They need to be made equal across all the schools. You can't have one junior high that's dilapidated while the other two are newer, I guess. Elementary schools, same boat. And then something I think needs to be done with the high school, one way or the other, just to house all these kids that may start coming. So another challenge is the seemingly dysfunction of the school board itself. The president of the school board just resigned recently. So there's going to be another new school board member that's going to join the two elder members who seem to constantly be bickering rather than doing things that actually affect the school district. That, other than getting in the middle of them, I don't know how you can fix that, because it seems to be very deep rooted for some reason. I have no idea why. As far as the facilities go, all I can do if there becomes a levy or a bond package is to help inform people why we need that, so that maybe one of them can pass.
So Jeff, we are, the South Kitsap Chamber of Commerce, and so my next question, has to do with business and the community. What impact or influence do you think the South Kitsap School District, has on local businesses in South Kitsap?
So I think it's twofold. I think if we have schools that are well built with good curriculum and great teachers, and a good administration running all those things, all of which the school board has a big part in setting the policy for, then I think we can make South Kitsap a draw for communities, for people to live here, to raise their families here, to have the small businesses that are here today thrive, and then to attract other businesses as well. The better that we are, in the more hospitable we are, and the more open we are to, I think rational growth, the better. I've heard rumors over the years, right? This store, that store, like a big box store, right, is going to come to the Port Orchard area, and yet I still find myself having to drive to Gig Harbor and Soberdale, do a lot of the business. And I think that, and part of that is because we, you know, while the old town can be really charming, it's just not the reality of what people want today. And so I think we have to be more open to you know, having a nicer community. And every time, you know, people come to visit me, you know, that are familiar with Kitsap County, and they walk around downtown, for example, they say, you know, why can't this be like Paulsbo? Or why can't it be like, you know, some other cute place? Or why can't we revitalize it like they've done in downtown Brampton? And the answer is we can. We just have to be determined to do that. And so I think the school board, and working in partnership with the business community, can build them an attractive community, and that brings in business, that keeps dollars being spent here rather than going out of town or out of state. And so I think that that those two things can be beneficial to each other. Sort of as a side note, when I was in grad school, I lived in Pasadena, California. It was near my grad school. When I moved there, it was sort of the place near my apartment was sort of a skid row, boarded up buildings and everything. And in the 3 years that I lived there, they completely revitalized it, put in, you know, bookstores and coffee shops and restaurants and stuff. And when the people came, they used to come, you know, for the Rose Bowl parade and then leave. Just 1 year after that was built, the people came for the Rose Parade and they never left. And that was a thriving, rebuilt, revitalized, great. They kept a lot of the historic storefronts, but they redid everything else. They put the money in and they invested in the community, and it was a wonderful place to live. So I think change can happen. It can be positive, and it can happen pretty fast. And I want to try to be a part of that on the school board, to make the schools a draw, because people do, I think, really make some decisions around where they live based on what the schools are like, even if they don't have kids in them. It makes a big difference. So,
All right. We're getting close to the end here. So next question, what impact or influence do you think the South Kitsap School District has on local businesses in South Kitsap?
Oh, I think it's a matter of community pride. I mean, I went to a very, very, very small high school, and the amount of community pride and typically you think of sports teams in that regard, but when you have someone going out and representing you, the school district, I mean, it can be your kids, your niece, your nephew, your grandkids, but they're going out and they're doing good things that reflects good back on Port Orchard, because they're out doing all these good things. So I think it's a matter of community pride, having a good, strong, healthy school system where those kinds of opportunities will present themselves.
That was a good answer. All right, last question. This is the question that I always give, and this is an opportunity to blow your own horn, so to speak. Is
not going to happen. I'm not built that way.
Well, I guess then, you know, the question is, you know, why do you think you're the best choice for the school board?
And quite honestly, I can't say that I am.
Mm-hmm.
This is my first foray into politics in any way, shape, or form. I really had no idea what I was getting into when I started. And, you know, Jeff may be way better suited to fulfill the position than I am, because I'm not, I just can't say that I think I am. Okay. Honestly, I can't say that.
Okay. All right. So, so thanks, Jeff, for your support and stepping up for the community. I have one last question for you.
Sure.
And this is an opportunity for you to blow your own horn.
Okay.
You did a great job in the introduction about, you know, your background and stuff like that. But so last question here is, why do you think you're the best choice for the South Kitsap School District Board?
So I think I'm the best choice because not only because the experience that I bring to the table, and then my experience and my ability to listen, and to embrace what the community has to say, what my fellow board members have to say. Going into this, it's a little bit of a tough environment, so I think it's going to be a little bit of tough sailing. But I think one of the things I've developed in my time in business is a little bit of a thick skin. So I've been in some rough situations. I don't expect perfection, so I think I'm going to be able to withstand some of that pressure to, just respond to whatever controversy is brought to us and be able to stick to a little bit of longer term vision, and then engage the board and hopefully the community in some bigger vision for how we make the school system better, right? How we make the buildings better, how we make the experience better, and how that translates into better students. So I think that's what makes a good candidate. The second part I would say is, I've been looking for a way to give back to the community. I'm willing to do this and then put my time in. So I think, my passion and my focus is around making this happen. It's a 4-year commitment to start. And so I'm willing to put in that time and effort and stick to it and stay, and stay the course, despite, I think, a lot of the frothiness that's happening, not only with our school board, but even around the country. So, so I think that's what makes me a good candidate. Thanks.
All right, Jeff. Well, thank you. Thank you for giving us your time, and I want to thank Greg for stepping up and volunteering to run for the school board, and for taking the time to participate in these interviews also. As we stand here now, that the ballots just dropped. The election is on November 2nd. So please, everybody, get your ballots in. Watch this video. I've got other videos on the other school boards. I've got videos on the city council. So I would encourage everybody to get informed. And but most importantly is to vote. And I always end all my videos with my watchwords are to shop local and love local. So thanks, Jeff, for coming out.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me. And yeah, please do get your votes in and tell your friends. Thanks.